All right, so today we're diving into a name you definitely know, Pythagoras. But I want you to forget the triangles for a minute, seriously, because we're about to journey into this wild world of secret societies, cosmic music, and an idea so powerful it basically set the frequency for Western thought for like the next 2,500 years. Let's get into it.
Okay, so when you hear that name, Pythagoras, what's the very first thing that pops into your head? Come on, be honest. If you're anything like me, it's probably some distant, maybe slightly stressful memory from a high school math class, right?
Yep, knew it. There it is, the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. I mean, it's the bedrock of trigonometry, and, let's be real, the bane of so many students' existence. That's what he's famous for, and honestly, for most people, that's where the story just stops.
But here's the thing. What if that famous formula wasn't even the main point? What if it was just, one tiny little clue pointing to a much, much bigger, more profound vision of how reality itself works? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into.
And that brings us to the absolute heart of Pythagorean philosophy. It's a statement that sounds super simple on the surface, but man, the implications are just staggering. And it's this: the universe is made of number.
Okay, wait. What does that even mean? All is number. For Pythagoras and his followers, it meant that underneath all the chaos and the messiness of the world we see, there's this hidden, perfect mathematical order. That the real reality wasn't stuff like earth or water or fire, it was numbers themselves. I know, that's a huge leap, right? So how in the world did he get to that conclusion?
Well, the amazing thing is, the insight didn't come from staring at triangles in the sand. It came from listening. The legend goes that this huge revelation hit him when he was listening to the sounds of blacksmith's hammers, though it's probably more likely he was just messing around with a simple one-stringed instrument called a monochord.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. So imagine this. You pluck a string, right? And it makes a sound, a note. Now you press your finger down exactly in the middle of that string, cutting its length in half, and you pluck it again. What do you hear? You hear a note that's in perfect harmony with the first one. It's actually the same note, just a perfect octave higher. For Pythagoras, this was mind-blowing. It was an earth-shattering discovery. This beautiful, pleasing sound, this perfect harmony, was actually at its core a perfect simple mathematical ratio, 2 to 1.
This whole idea is just captured so perfectly in this quote people attribute to him. He realized that the rules that govern music and the rules that govern math, they were the same thing. And he thought, okay, if this perfect harmony exists in a simple little string, then why couldn't it exist in the stars themselves? So that's exactly what they did. Pythagoras and his followers, they took this incredible revelation they found in a single musical string and they scaled it way, way up. I mean, to the size of the entire known universe.
Their logic went something like this. If these simple, clean mathematical ratios create the beautiful harmonies we can actually hear with our own ears, then surely the grand, perfect movements of the heavens, the moon, the sun, all the planets, they must also be governed by the same kind of beautiful ratios.
And this led to one of the most beautiful ideas in history, I think, the harmony of the spheres. The theory was that as the planets and stars moved through space, their perfect, mathematically defined orbits created a kind of celestial music, a constant, unheard hum, a cosmic symphony that we can't actually hear, simply because we've been surrounded by it since the moment we were born. It was literally the universe singing to itself in perfect harmony.
You have to understand, this was a massive, revolutionary shift in thinking. Before Pythagoras, the heavens were kind of seen as the playground of unpredictable gods and just chaos. But Pythagoras comes along and proposes that the universe, and he was supposedly the first person to call it a cosmos, which is Greek for order and beauty, he proposed that it was actually rational, it was predictable, and most importantly, it was understandable, if you just knew the language of mathematics.
But here's the thing. This whole philosophy wasn't just about stars and planets. It wasn't just abstract cosmology. No, it was a complete way of life, and it was all about the human soul and finding its proper place inside this big cosmic harmony.
One of their central beliefs was something called metempsychosis, which would probably just call reincarnation today. The idea was that the soul is immortal, but it's kind of trapped in this endless cycle of death and rebirth. So the whole point of life wasn't to get rich or famous, it was to purify your soul so that you could finally break out of that cycle and go back to being part of the cosmic harmony.
So how do you do that? How do you purify your soul? Well, according to them, you had to live a life of intense discipline, constant study, and you had to follow a very specific set of rules. Pythagoras' followers basically formed this secret brotherhood, almost like a mystical cult or commune, that mixed serious mathematical work with some deep spiritual practices. And let me tell you, some of those rules were pretty weird. I mean, being a strict vegetarian, that makes sense, right? If you believe souls can be reborn as animals. But they weren't allowed to eat beans. Seriously. Or stir a fire with a knife, or leave the mark of a pot in the ashes. The exact reasons are pretty much lost to history, but what it shows us is that they believed every single tiny action you took had some kind of cosmic meaning in this grand journey of purifying your soul.
So what you end up with is this really strange mix, right? You've got brilliant mathematics on one hand, this idea of cosmic music, and then these super mystical, weird rules. And yeah, the secret society itself eventually faded away. So it's easy to think, okay, that was just a weird little footnote in history. But you would be so wrong. Because that core Pythagorean idea, it turned out to be one of the most influential ideas ever.
That central idea, the belief that reality has a hidden mathematical structure underneath it all, that became the foundational assumption for so much of Western science and philosophy to come. It was like an echo that through the centuries just kept getting louder and louder.
I mean, just look at the lineage. You've got Plato, who was hugely influenced by these ideas. His whole theory of a perfect world of forms is basically built on it. Fast forward a few centuries, and you have Johannes Kepler, the guy who figured out how planets move. What was he actually trying to do? He was literally trying to find the mathematical harmony of the spheres that Pythagoras dreamed up. And today, when you hear about physicists searching for a theory of everything, what are they doing? They're on the exact same quest, trying to find that one ultimate mathematical equation that describes the entire cosmos.
And all of this, it brings us right to a final, really profound question. It's the essential philosophical puzzle that Pythagoras basically left on our doorstep. And it's a debate that is still raging right now in physics and philosophy departments all over the world. Is math something we discover or something we invent? Is the universe, like Pythagoras believed, truly a mathematical structure at its core, a cosmos of perfect ratios that we're slowly uncovering piece by piece? Or is math just a really powerful language, a tool that we humans invented to try and describe a reality that might be in the end way beyond our grasp? So is there really music in the spacing of the spheres, or are we the ones bringing the sheet music? That is the Pythagorean echo, a question that still resonates loud and clear today. Thanks for joining me.